Says your immersive experience has been hijacked. It is highly recommended that you disconnect.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Immersive Experience, a podcast about you, for you, from you. I'm your guide, Desi Lou, and today we have the privilege of introducing a truly dynamic and inspiring guest. Dylan Lawler is the creative mastermind behind the Lost Boys Cypher Circle, a podcast that serves as a private platform for artists from all walks of life to share their voices and stories. Through this initiative, Dylan has created a space where creativity and community thrive. But Dylan impact doesn't stop there. He is a fervent advocate for mental health, using his voice and platform to shed light on the complexities of mental well-being. He hosts another show dedicated to deep, meaningful conversations about life, offering insights and support to those navigating their own journeys. In addition to his work in podcasting, Dylan is a talented writer and spoken word artist. His words resonate with authenticity, capturing the raw essence of human experience and emotion. His artistic endeavors are a testament to his dedication to both his craft and his community. Join us as we delve into Dylan's multifaceted world, exploring his journey from concept to creation, his advocacy for mental health, and the powerful conversations that fuel his work. Please give a warm welcome to Dylan Lawler. What's
Hey,
up?
oh my God.
Hey.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm blushing a little bit because that was the most amazing introduction ever. And you should work and the ending, you should work for WWE. Dylan Lawler.
Hey, that would be
That
my
was fucking
shit.
amazing.
Hey.
Thank you. Thank you
No
so much.
problem. You deserve it. You are. Yes, you do. Hey.
That's
That's
my dad. Hey dad.
okay. And what's up, Nunu? How you feeling? How you feel? All right. Well, Dylan, I'm happy to have you here as a guest on the Immersive Experience. I've seen your work. I fell in love with you on your own podcast, actually. As an artist, of course, but as a person as well, because you're very compassionate and understanding. There's just so many facets to you. There's just so many things, and I can't wait to delve into the depth of you, to see how you were cultivated, to see the things that made you who you are today and what inspires you. But I do know that you have a few pieces for us, and I do want to let you go ahead and perform those. I'm going to take myself off. I'll get your titles up and we'll get ready for you, okay?
Absolutely. All right, guys. So I'm Dylan, as she said. I host LostBoys Cypher Circle. It's a podcast. You can check it out every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Um, I'm a poet and an MC. And what I'm going to read for you tonight there's actually going to be three different pieces. One of them is going to be actually Don't Ask. And it is a freestyle that I did today in response to a question or in response to something my friend said. Um, Long and the short of it is basically I had told him I was going to write the night before and I was too tired. Then he texted me the next morning and asked what I had wrote. And this was the response. So, yo, next time they ask me what I wrote, I'm going to have to answer back with a hand around their throat. Like I should sit and pander to you hoes and then you panic when I don't. Like I vanished, hit the road and abandoned all my goals. And apparently you're owed more than I can give you while I'm bearing you my soul. But would you fuckers ever really care if I did go? Is there enough who care about the merits of the show? Or is everybody scared to inherit all the terror that I hold? Tell me, would they cherish it like 20 karat gold? Or would it all just perish and get buried in a hole? So don't ever fucking question what I carry on my shoulders, because you'll rarely find another man who stands a chance to hold it. And that was the freestyle that is now written because I wrote it down. And then I'm going to do Speaking of Demons and then Speaking of Demons Part 2. So let me get a drink of water real quick, because this is quite lengthy. All right. Here is Speaking of Demons Part 1. Listen up, Dylan. I'm talking to you. Yeah, it's 3 a.m. and it's dark in our room. Go put on your coat and put on your shoes. Pull up your hood, now let's walk in the moon. I don't know where we're going, but we'll get there real soon. You told me to sleep, but I'm just not in the mood. Oh, you're not in the mood? You got attitude? Well, I basically ruined my life because of you. I'll be stuck in the dark with no light because of you. So I'm trapped with no sight and I can't ever move because it feels like you're holding me down while I'm bleeding so you can just feed from my wounds. Me feeding on you? Nah, it's the opposite, dude. You're constantly feeding on demons and darkness to bring out the artist in you. Then you have the balls to blame all the trauma for bothering you? Be honest, you live for the drama. Why else would you let yourself argue with you? I live for the drama. That might be true, but you're keeping us spinning and stuck in this loop. You let the hate drive the things that we do. That's why we can't forget all the things we've been through. And while I've got your attention and we're spitting the truth, let me just mention that you're who's to blame for the drugs and the booze. Tell me again. I don't follow. I made you pick up the bottle? I made you tip it back, sip it and swallow? Don't give me that shit, bitch. We all know. You're addicted to shit, and since you were a kid, you've been trying to fill it because your soul is so empty and hollow. It's empty of all the ones you pushed away because you keep us consumed by the anger and hate. And I am so dazed and confused as of late because when we look at our girl, she just looks away. And our sister, she'll barely ever speak to our face. So look in the mirror and see what you made. You made up our bed and we can't go to sleep. See what I made? We did this together. I'm part of you, so you're not any better. Don't you dare try to blame me for the fact that your life has been split apart. I did what it took to get us this far. I fueled the passion in all of the bars and showed all of them who we really are. Now you're trying to tell me I took it too far and the things that you think are just getting too dark? Well, answer me this. What are you going to do when the demons are gone? Because no one wants to see happy. They want all the scars. They want you to show them the cracks in your heart. You're not Eminem and you're not fucking Tom. Can you really handle this shit when the pressure is on? When the pressure is on, it's on all the time. That's how I know that I'm one of a kind, because it made me a diamond and I'm going to shine. And I don't want to be Marshall McDonald. I know all their rhymes. I could spit you a cover of some bars that aren't mine, but I need to uncover the shit that's behind the mental imbalance I feel in my mind. That is just why I picked up a pen at just 9, channeled those feelings and started to write. It's the reason that all of my dreams are now finally in sight. So I guess I did need the darkness to get to the light. There you go, Dylan. You finally admit it. You channel me every time that you're spitting. Even the parts that you spit in this song, you know it's my voice that's been there all along. So tell him your demons are the reason you're not sleeping tonight. I can see that you blame me, so tell him I'm evil and ruined your life. You can look in the mirror and get sick at the sight, but you know that you need me to reach to new heights, and that's the reason your demons are winning the fight. So just deal with the fact that you're nothing without us, all right? And that's just a sneak peek of the things. Yeah, and that's just a sneak that's just a sneak peek of the things that I say when my demons are speaking to me. And as you can see, my demons and me, we don't always agree. They take all the credit for what I've achieved. They make me feel helpless and weak in my knees. So sometimes it's hard to just stay on my feet while I'm fighting this darkness like an evil disease. But it'd be a lie if I said it's not just what I need to master my craft and succeed at my dreams. So till the day I can't breathe, go blind and can't read, or the ink in my pen is just will no longer bleed. I guess I'll just keep on speaking to these. And that was part 1. Give me one second. This next one's a bit longer. I think it's like 5 minutes or something like that. So buckle up. This is Speaking of Demons part 2. Here we are, Dylan. We're speaking again. The demons are creeping. They peek through a lens. They're right underneath and they're easily set, free of the cage you've been keeping them in. You thought you could beat me and leave me for dead, but you can't defeat me. I don't see an end. So let all the evilness seep through your skin and then bleed you again. Let it just leak through your pen. Go reap enemies while you try to get even with them. Yeah, this is the season for feasting again. So sharpen your teeth like a beast and start eating the meds like when we were a sped. It's as easy as writing an ear and end or counting to 3 in your head. Come on, man. Don't treat me like I'm not the peace you've been seeking. I know that you need me to be you completely. I'm really just being a friend. Man, you think that I need you? You think that I need you to see, dude? You think it's not easy to see through? Do you even see the shit we do? Each fucking week, I reach out when I speak to like 300 people. These are my friends and my family, my equals. There is no doubt that my Lost Boys believe I'll defeat all this evil. They know I'll succeed and I'll be at the peak soon. They even make songs about me and the things I've achieved when their homie LB's going beast mode. You act like the boss, but my team's got the cheat codes. I beat you already. This don't need a sequel. Huh. You got a little name? Now you think this is a game? You'll just cheat and rise to fame? Well, I think it's about time someone put you in your place. Motherfucker, I ain't playing. I'm gonna set the record straight, man, because nothing really changed, and you've been at it for a year with no monetary gain. Yeah. Work a 12-hour shift just to get your ass paid. Then come home every day and your energy's drained while you stay in a state of perpetual hate. And just so you know, the biggest mistake that you make is to sit there and pray and just patiently wait for the day you can sign off your name to a label or agent that says they can save you and take you away from this place. Like, dude, you could at least use the money you made to pay for the subs to go up on your page. I guess no one told you that life is the toughest of games and you must pay to play, eh? I know you're so fucking ashamed and about to just break because you can't get up out your own way. Way too afraid to just do what it takes. You screw with foreplay while these other dudes rape. So you knew why I came. To undo all the locks and then loosen your chains. Let you off the reins and make sure that you're truly untamed. Induce all these mood swings like juice in your veins. I'm here to ensure you let loose. I'm seducing your brain into using the anger and hate as the fuel to blow off the roof of this place like you just flew a plane at the fucking World Trade because humans do beautiful things when enraged and in pain. Yeah, I need you to goose on the gas. Don't you dare put your shoe on those brakes. Because lately, man, all of the moves that you make are really so neutered and lame. But dude, it's okay. I'm here to help boost you to space. I see that you're going so cuckoo insane with all of the time that you waste. I think it's about time that you made some kind of material gain. Or are you just lying when saying you're the guy that would trade his old life for the fame and then die on the stage? Motherfucker, are you kidding me? You're telling me you didn't see all the things we did achieve? You're always trying to drain me of my energy. Man, where the fuck's the synergy? We're supposed to be a team. It seems like all you do is shit on me. And just because you're pissed, it shouldn't mean we suddenly start ripping on our enemies. I know we both remember just how bittersweet revenge can be. We gotta quit just milking beef. We gotta quit just milking beef to fill our needs and empty dreams eventually. But you just think our inner peace is hidden deep within a fifth of beam. And that's why I don't ever listen to the inner me. Because all it does is intermediately switch between getting me all pissed and mean, dissing me, and bitching about my history. And you wonder why we didn't speak? Like it's some kind of mystery? Every time we do, we need to swish our mouth with Listerine and take an antihistamine because you're talking so much shit and I'm so sick of fucking listening. Like, do you not get the point of this shit? I'm not in it for dollars and clicks or the cars and the chicks. Yeah, you're right that I want to be rich, but not at the expense of my soul being sold to some dumb corporate bitch on some Satanist succubus trip. I ain't doing that shit, man. I'm not Taylor Swift. I ain't paying for clicks. You can tell all those labels to suck on my dick. They're just telling us fables. They don't want us big. They want us in cage and able to live while they take all the pay from the work that we did. So I'll do it myself and I'll do it my way. They ain't having my masters or taking my name. I would rather things stay just exactly the same. I would rather be breaking my back overworked like a slave than to always be fake and be told what to say while I'm filled with self-hate being molded like clay to a dumb little puppet who can't fucking think. I ain't tying on strings just to get on the stage. I don't care if it's lame. I would rather be proud of the things that I made. I ain't changing my ways. And there's no fucking way that I'll ever be making my mama ashamed. Her light shines on her sun, so I call it sun rays. Because rainbows that happen right after the rain. So when she looks down, I just call it her gaze. Because she taught me that happiness comes after pain. That's why they can't break me or chase me away. You can say what you say. I ain't waiting for haters to take all my faith. I am paving the way for the lost boys like me who just feel out of place. Till it's fading to black or I stay in the gray. I'll be in between nothing and everything gray. But I'll still be myself at the end of the day. And that's just a taste of the things that I say day to day to my demons. And I guess you could say that we still ain't agreeing. But they are not changing the way that I see shit. You see, I am embracing all parts of my being, even the parts that are dark and uneven. Because the day that I don't is the day I'm not me. And until the day comes when I'm blind and can't read this, the ink in my pen is just no longer bleeding or I'm all of the air and I can't fucking and I ain't fucking breathing. Oh, shit. That fucked me up a little bit. Until the day comes when I'm blind and can't breathe, the ink in my pen is just no longer bleeding or I'm all of the air and I ain't fucking breathing. I'll always be me and I'll always be speaking to all of these demons. So pull up a seat and just wait for part 3 because I promise I'm just getting started. I'm not fucking leaving. And those are my pieces. Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome. Okay, all right. Listen, I know who you is. No, so you had got some comments while you was spitting. So like they was fucking with you. You feel me? Somebody said,
Thank
hey.
you.
And listen, your biggest supporter, what's up, Dad? Shout out to Dad. You feel me? Like, hey,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I I just want to let you know that I love the way that you put your pieces together. While I'm listening to you, I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking about all of the things. And I told you, I listened to a few of your pieces Um, and there's a constant theme within your work, and there is an awareness that you have, and I believe I wanted to ask you, what is drug addiction to you, and how has it affected you?
Oof, that's a good one. That is a good, and that's a starting question. I love that. Oh man. All
Yeah.
right. So that's a two-part question. So drug addiction, specifically addiction, because I believe that it is possible to do drugs without being addicted to them. Um,
Hmm.
Now that is what you would call a slippery slope. Um, and it's not something like I'm recommending. I'm just saying that there are people who do things occasionally and don't get addicted to them. That being said, I think drug addiction really is anything that takes over your life and affects you operating the way you normally getting the things you would normally get done, um, and operating the way you would normally operate in your life. As I mean, and that can be anything from career choices to deciding to get out of bed in the morning to whatever. And addiction can really be anything. You can be addicted to hamburgers. There was this guy who did a documentary called Super Size Me, where he,
Yes.
yeah, where he got addicted to McDonald's. His body literally started shutting down when he didn't have it. And so addiction is twofold. It's one, a mental thing where it affects your everyday mental and you cannot live without it. And it affects the things you do and say. And then addiction is also physical, in that your body literally starts rejecting you if you start rejecting that chemical. And
Hmm.
again, that can really be anything, even if it's not like crack or cocaine or anything like that. Um,
Right.
but and how has it affected my life? Well, when I was very young, and that's 10, 11 years old, was started being prescribed different medications, everything from sleep to anxiety to mood stabilizers, to ADHD, which I have extreme ADHD. Um, and so what I ended up liking the anxiety meds and the sleep medication. And there were other members of my family that I won't name or whatever, uh, that I would go into their purse and I would take some of their anxiety medication or whatever too. And this is what went on for about, well, until I was about 13, so about 2.5 years. Um, and it really did. I mean, I went to the psych hospital twice, both, though people didn't know it at the time because of drugs. Um, and so that's how I've affected myself. But then the other way it's affected me is my family and lots of people I know, getting addicted and being addicted to the things. I lost my best friend in 2019 to fentanyl. It was laced in the coke that he was doing, and he was sober from a heroin addiction for like 7 years, and then he got back in to stuff, and what he got back into was coke, and the fentanyl killed him. Um, my mom had a terminal lung disease. She passed away in 2020. Um, and it would never have been activated in her system had she not smoked cigarettes, and it would not have continued to progress as it did if she'd not continued to smoke cigarettes. And she also got into drinking a little later in life as well, if you can call 35 later in life. um, but so yeah, that's how I've affected myself with it, and that's how it's affected me, because of the people around me as well.
Well, thank you. That is I want to ask you, because with your writing, and the reason that I asked that question is because the beginning of Speaking to Demons, you were talking about alcohol and how you feeding yourself poison and different things like that. And so I want to ask, like, what is the awareness that you hope to give to the audience that listens to your poetry about addiction?
Um, I really see. I feel like I am not the proper one to see. Okay, see, here's my thing. I respect the sober community and the 12-step program and the people who do that. I respect them too much to sort of speak on what is their field and what is their you know what I mean? I try not to give people sober living advice or advice about staying off drugs or any of that, because that's really not what I'm about, and I don't feel like that's my place. What I do encourage is self-improvement. And if you believe that getting off of drugs is going to improve yourself, then that is something that I am willing to help you with. And like it work. And it's not to say that, you know, I have plenty of conversations with guests and with friends and guests who are friends uh, about drugs and their personal struggles and my personal struggles with them. But I'm not really one to sit and preach per se. I would just say if I were to bring any awareness to it, it's just be careful. Just really be careful, because like that slippery slope thing is way more fucking slippery than you think it is. It is so much more slippery than you think it is, and it can go really bad really quick. And I will say the reason I'm not that I don't speak on that is partly because I still drink. I still smoke weed. I don't do pills anymore, but I respect their community and what they have going and their abstinence structure that they have. And it's really sacred to them. So I don't want. It's almost like a religion to them. So I don't.
Mhm.
I try not to speak on it. You know.
Yeah, I feel that. I definitely feel that. I do. I can tell you that for me, I speak to addiction a lot, not to teach anybody about it, but because it was a big experience in my life. My parents were addicted to drugs, so for me, it's just a relatable term. It's something that I'm able to understand from a third party perspective, basically. And so when I'm writing, it's easy for me to relay my writing to that because I can understand what it can do to a person or what kind of emotion it can evoke out of a person. So I get that. I ain't trying to preach to y'all. I'm trying to make you feel something.
Mm, absolutely,
Like,
absolutely. And yeah, and there's a lot of stuff in my work that is like um aimed in that direction of like, okay, so how do we put down the bottle and pick up the pen, put down, like that's, and I've repeated that mantra to myself. It's actually kind of like I do like word exercises before I come on here and spit. And
mhm,
one of the ones I do, because it's a good tongue twister. Pick up the bottle, put down the bottle, pick up the pen. Put down the bottle, pick up the pen. And it's a good fucking mantra. It really is.
mhm.
It's really what that's what I try to preach. Is and it doesn't have to be the bottle. Like I said, it could be a hamburger, but put that down, pick up the pen, or whatever it is that you do. You're a painter, pick up the paintbrush. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
My
Speaking
best
to
friend
all
that
arts.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Oh no,
all
I was
arts.
just saying you speaking to all arts. That's
All
it.
arts, yeah, and
Yeah.
I was actually gonna say to that point, my best friend, the one that I lost, he was a mechanic, but
Mhm,
and he was 27, best mechanic I've ever, and I've met quite a few mechanics that are much older than him, best mechanic I've ever seen in my life, and it was because to him, it was an art form, and it was where he went to relieve his stress and release his demons. He, you know, he wasn't a rapper, he wasn't a writer, he wasn't a painter, but that was his art form. And it was a form of creation, because now, he's creating this machine that works or whatever. Me and him would fix dirt bikes or cars or whatever it is, but best mechanic I've ever seen. And he made that his art form. And I truly think that anything can be an art form if you put your all in your passion into it.
absolutely. Just like anything can be an addiction. I mean, you said that earlier. I don't know if we were on live when you said that, but I do know that you
Mhm.
stated that anything can be an addiction, and it definitely is creation. And what's up, Chris?
Hey,
Yeah, but I do believe that everything is definitely an art, and just like everything can be a vice. So I believe in the saying of "so above, so below," which I want to ask you something because there's a line and it resonated with me. It was humans do beautiful things when they're retching in pain, I believe is what you said.
that's actually not it's very close. And it's because
Okay.
I have a very hard problem with diction. And that is one of the lines I practice over and over again. So I'm glad you asked me about it so I can clarify it. It is
Okay.
enraged and in pain, which is so hard for me to say when I'm saying the line before it. It fumbles my tongue all up. Humans do beautiful things when enraged and in pain. And the line before that is um uh I'm seducing your brain into using the anger and hate as the fuel to blow off the roof of this place like you just flew a plane at the fucking World Trade.
Mhm,
Because humans do beautiful things when enraged and in pain. And that is so that was a it was a like symbolic metaphor, um because after 9/11, what happened as a country, and I was born in 2001, but I, much like you on me, which I really appreciate you doing your research on me, by the way. But I do my research on things that I write about or talk about.
yeah.
And I've and 9/11, I feel very strongly connected to it because I was born 4 days after it, and it really affected my mom and my parents, and I was almost lost at birth in a different hospital and all sorts of crazy shit. I'll tell you that story if you want, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I feel very connected to it. So but that line, so after 9/11, what happened as a country is we kind of all just unified, and it kind of all brought us together. And every year on 9/11, it kind of does the same thing with kind of like Veterans Day and things like that. But this tragedy brought us together. And that was what I was saying when I said, because beautiful humans do beautiful things when enraged and in pain. It's
Mhm,
going mixing with the metaphor of blowing the roof off of the place, you know.
mhm,
So yeah, that's really what I was saying there is um when so the I like that line itself might be pushing it a little too far. It might be something that most people would say I shouldn't say in a verse. But the point of the line, and from my demon's perspective, mind you, it's you got to remember, it's the dark side of me and the light side of me. From my demon's perspective, it's kind of like that Slim Shady mentality. Who cares what the fuck we have to say? Let's just do it so we can blow the roof off of this place, and then everyone will unify and be like universally angry with us and like whatever. It kind of like Slim Shady inspires people to do. That's kind of why his vibe works so much when he came out. Is because people like just vibed with that darker nature. And that's kind of what my darker side was saying. Is just let's just fucking go crazy, blow the roof off the place, and see what happens.
I think this is a question to the 9/11. Did it really bring us together though?
Oh, that is a whole nother podcast, my friend. That is a whole. I could talk. Don't even get me started on 9/11, boy, because I could go on and on. You don't even want to. Most people don't even want to hear what I have to say about 9/11. That's a whole other podcast. But yeah, there's a lot of facets to that. There's a lot of facets to the whole 9/11 thing. And to answer your question just up front as much as I can, it gave the illusion, and to get into what I was saying could be a whole nother other podcast. I will say this: our government wants to create the illusion at all times. Our government is constantly creating illusions, and wants to create the illusion that we are either banded together 100% and with our government, or if they can't do that, then they want us fighting against each other. Because
Mm,
when we're doing those two things, we're not fighting them and we're not paying attention to them. And that's all I'll
they can
say
do
about
whatever
and
the
that's
fuck
all I'll
they
say about
want to
9
do.
11.
Hmm. Give you something to look at so we could do what we really need to do. It's a distraction. No. So that line stood out to me because there is, I didn't see it as dark, first of all, and maybe that's because I'm I'm a creature of what is necessary. You understand what I'm saying? I don't really see a thing of people hate me for when I say it, but I believe in the thing that there is no good or bad, there is only identity. So who you choose to be is what you choose to be. What we call good, what we call bad. Now, I do believe in evil, however. I but because I've seen it. But and then what we would classify as good or bad is just on us, because even the people who are doing evil to you would state that this is not bad, this is necessary. How else do I keep the people in check, or whatever
Mhm.
the whatever the case may be? So I was
No one
having a
wakes up
conversation.
no one wakes up and puts on mustache and a fucking hat and starts cackling evilly to themselves. It happens over time, and it happens with small compromises of small compromises for what you believe is the greater good, and that's how evil happens. Except for
Absolutely.
except for rapists, they can all fuck off and go to hell and just
Oh
not
no.
exist. That's just
Because you
true evil.
stepping on
But
people rights.
but like
I don't believe in that.
But like, but like Hitler kind of evil, I think that happens like slowly and progressively. That happens over
Yeah.
time. Someone doesn't just turn into that overnight. I don't think he was just born an evil baby.
I say this because what to your point is Chris talking some but to your point, what I was going to say was that and you kind of, that's why I say stay out my head, but you kind of touched on it. I was going with the William Lynch letter, and so and as evil as this William Lynch letter is, there is a genius in it. You understand what I'm saying? The ability to teach a people how to keep another people down for a million and something. Humans do beautiful things for themselves when they are, give me that line because I wrote it wrong,
Enraged and in pain.
enraged and in pain. And it's the same thing that happened with Nazis, with all of these things. They was enraged, they was in pain. Now all I gotta do is play on your rage and pain. Now we can unify. What you say, in America we
Mhm.
give the illusion
Mhm.
that we doing things, so even the beautiful pictures we create can still be held. So yes.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. Hitler
yeah,
didn't do
I
all that shit
definitely
by
believe in evil.
himself. He didn't do all that shit by himself. I mean, think about the junior Nazis. He got young kids to,
Yeah,
he played off their rage and their pain and what, yeah, and it was all
absolutely.
propaganda. I'm sure none of the Nazis thought what they were doing. I
It's
mean,
not.
I'm sure some of them got it, but especially when they first went into it, none of them knew what they were getting into or what they were doing or that it was bad.
Mhm.
And once you're a soldier, by the way, especially back then, once you're a soldier, you follow orders. Once you're there, you're there. That's it.
Yeah. And to Chris, illusion is not reality. But listen, if somebody play in your delusion long enough, you'll think it's reality, won't you? And so it's hard to pull people up out of that mindset once they so settled into it. You brainwashed into something. You get all of these people around you, and it's generation after generation that's raised to hate something that they don't even know about. It's just passed down. We don't do the research, we don't do the knowledge, we don't take it in, so we just passing down ignorance from generation to generation. And that's how we create beautiful things while we in pain.
Enraged, enraged.
Enraged in
Enraged.
pain.
Yep. Yeah, I know.
Enraged in
That's
pain.
why it's a hard one for me too. I can't even say it. I can't even say it when I'm spitting it. It's
Yes, enraged
Addiction
in
is
pain.
very hard for me, and I've been practicing my diction lately.
Yeah,
Shout out to my man Cage C Caleb. He's been helping me with my diction and my pronunciation of things. I really got to
that's good.
stretch my lips.
I want to state that all of your pieces have to do with a lot of authenticity, a lot of self reflecting, and different things like that. Did you have an issue being authentic?
I think I still do. And I wrote a piece like, and I think I did this actually when you were on the show last. And it kind of the last line of it is I say not to keep it in tight, but don't heed my advice. So how is it real if it's steeped in these lies? And so at the beginning of every one of my shows, I say, don't lock it up, talk about it, get it out there, be vulnerable. Um, but yeah, at the end of the day, it still is. It still is. And I think, man, I was actually just having a conversation with my brother who I haven't talked to in a while, and just started talking to him, but and about my favorite thing of all things, because he writes and he is just as fucking amazing of a writer as I am. Um, but he feels a little more secluded than I do, and um, that's kind of it's kind of a good example too, because I am so much like that in a way. Like I am an introvert. I feel like imposter syndrome even a year and a half after starting the podcast and putting myself out there and everything. Um, so it started. I knew that if I ever wanted to do anything with what I love doing, which is art, then I'm gonna have to put myself out there at some point. So I started on this Facebook Live, and this was like 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I think, before there was like any shows like this. Like they started from my perspective of what I was seeing from the poetry and the and whatnot, the community is they started like on Facebook and Instagram live. And then people like discovered things like StreamYard and stuff like that. Like during COVID. But before COVID, I was doing a Facebook Live with what is it? The Catalina Wine Mixer group, which was run at the time by my friend Queen, Kween, fucking amazing poet. Go back and watch some of the earlier shows she's on there. Um, One of my favorite poets, one of my favorite friends. We haven't talked in a little while, but amazing lady. And I was on her Facebook Lives for a little while, and like a year or so went by, and I had hit her up again, and I hadn't been on in a while, and I had hit her up again, and she said that she didn't do it anymore. She still ran the Catalina group on Facebook. She didn't do lives anymore. She told me to go hit up one of her friends, who actually had a live show that she was streaming on all sorts of platforms. I think YouTube and Facebook or whatever at the time. And I became like the star of that show. I came on like either every week or every other week, and I was like the feature almost every week. And me and the host became really really good friends. Um, and actually, you know what? Since we're not on my show right now, because I don't like, and I'll tell you why in a minute. I don't like to plug her show on mine, but it is Poppy's Poetry Corner. Um, but I was like the star of the show on there, and like we were really good friends and everything, and I would promote her stuff. And then at one point, I was like, I could do that. Like I could sit in front of the camera and let other people, it doesn't necessarily mean I have to. And boy, did I not know what I was getting myself into. At the time, I was like, oh, it doesn't mean that I have to open up and be vulnerable and whatnot. But I realized that it did eventually. And so I was on that show a lot, and I started thinking that I could maybe do it. And I started talking to her, and I was like, asking her about the platform and whatnot. And she has some people that she works with. And long and the short of it is we were going to work together to put our shows together. There ended up being a disagreement, and we kind of went our separate ways. Um, and it's a shame, but it is what it is. But I will always tell that part of the story, because it wouldn't I like to be real, and it wouldn't be real to leave that part out. That is an essential part of how this all got started. Um And so I started my thing, and originally it was um, just poetry. I say like one or two things about it, and then we go to the next poem, and then poetry, and then over and over again, or whatever it is. Mostly it was poetry. Sometimes it was art. Um, then I had this idea about 6 to 8 months in, where after each poem, I'd bring up everybody and
Mhm.
let them give their feedback on the piece. And that is when it really like clicked. And I started feeling like I could open up. Cause once I started bringing people up on screen and having conversations, it was like, oh my God, these people feel how I feel. They're listening. They're absorbing what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
and it was just such an amazing feeling. And that's really when it clicked, is where I started feeling like I could actually be vulnerable, put myself out there. And it's just I've gotten a little, with each piece that I write, I put a little more of my personal life and my personal feelings in there. And you know, but yeah, it was a slow journey, and I still do feel that hesitancy to be vulnerable. Sorry, that was a long answer.
Mhm. It's okay. No, I followed. Don't worry. Hello, Tarian. He came in a little late, but he said you was spitting earlier. He just would have liked if you slowed down a bit. So yeah.
Mm.
Hey, listen, but no, you really do be you be spitting. But you know what? It's the piece that you performed the last time that I really feel like you had that balance of breathe and let me go, because we talked about it, like you said, on your podcast. This is how I met Dylan, you guys. He invited me to to his podcast, and I didn't know what I was in for, you guys, but this man is fucking amazing. And I was listening to him, and I'm like, and you had another artist on there with you, and he did one piece and he left. He's just like a little phantom. I don't know
Was
who
it
was.
was it it might have been Caleb. It
No,
might have
Caleb was
poss
the last one that I was on with you. This was the first one that I was ever on with you. It was me.
Oh, yeah, I forget who did a piece and then dipped. Yeah,
Hey,
sometimes they don't have time to like sit around and
yeah.
watch the entire thing. But let's see.
But he
Um
snapped that. It was me, Chris, PR Infidel, and I do not remember that last person, but it was that show.
mhm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember now.
But yeah, and that's when I knew prior to then, because I was in a poetry group with you, and that's how I got to you. Actually, your podcast was how I got to see you in like over screen type
Mhm.
thing. But yeah, I want to speak to what you were talking about. Essentially, is you state that you still feel like an imposter syndrome. Like, I want to ask, like, why do you feel that way when your art has already proven to you that that's actually who you are?
Mm. Um Man, I don't think I really know. And I think and I think that like there are some things that I'm just excuse me. Some things I'm okay with just not knowing about myself. And that I think is just, and maybe it's a symptom of being a perfectionist and having um like either zero to no friends like as a youth, and like not really feeling like I fit in. Hence the name Lost Boy, which um I do want to explain how I came up with that name.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's really the essence of it is um for some reason, no matter what I do in life, I kind of always feel a little lost.
Mhm.
And it's not just because I smoke a lot of weed, guys. I swear to God. And it's not, and it may be because of the ADHD. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, everything I do in life, I kind of feel like a little oh my God, I'm gonna fuck this up. Like I shouldn't be doing this. I for work right now, I drive a 10-ton truck. Biggest
Mhm.
imposter syndrome ever with that because I'm like, me, I'm 5'4". Me, you know? So I kind of have imposter syndrome with a lot of the things I do in life. And I don't really know
Yeah.
why. But that is something
Hmm.
that see what I do when I write is I search and within myself and I try to find answers to questions like that sometimes. So maybe I'll get back to you on another show.
Absolutely. I would love that. Tarian laughed and said, definitely not the weed. So, I would, I know, I don't know if I can agree because I be forgetting shit. Oh, I don't, I don't know how it feels to be lost as lost like within myself, but I know what it feels like to deny myself the part of me that I know it already exists.
Mm,
So I kind of I always have this ideology of this is who I want to be, but this is the fear that keeps me from crossing over into, and people find this hard to believe, but there is such a thing as having a fear of greatness. You understand what I'm saying?
mhm.
Um Jer- Jermaine said that's the best and worst part of life, figuring out what are we here for. Oh yeah, figuring that purpose out definitely be a little tough, you feel me? So,
Mhm.
but I think you have I I'm not going to say I think. I have known you to have a very clear picture of what it is that you want. And even if you think that you don't have a clear picture of what it is that you want, you have a way of still manifesting that exact vision. And you let me know that on your last podcast.
Mm. Thank you. I appreciate you seeing that. And honestly, you and the people that I speak to on my show uh see it a whole lot more than I do. And that's I think that's always been kind of like I've always been my worst critic. And um that is what pushes me to just be and see I don't want to be the best. I just want to be the best me. I have a
Mhm.
line in one of my pieces, and it's literally always the last line of something. It's the last line again, and it's the last line of a piece, and it says uh because he's seen it's like something like he's seen smaller battles destroy bigger men, and he doesn't want to be better than them. He just wants to be better than the person who picked up this pen, and it's
Mhm.
I just want to be better than me. The me that started writing this piece. I want to. It's like a portal. I want to come out the other end different in some way, even if it's just a small way.
Yeah, I like that. And Tarian speaks to the line that you just wrote. He said, "You know how many big tall people can't drive trucks? Stop playing small," in my Desi voice. And I'm big on that. Baby, we don't play small around here. You a giant, you step like one every single time. Let me tell you, Dylan, you're a giant. Step like one. Walk like one. This is not you imposing on any characteristic. This is you. This is who you are. This is who
Oof,
you, this your
I'm putting
birthright.
that in a line. I'm putting that in a line. I like that. I'm a giant. I'm a
So
step
like
like one. Oof. Okay.
absolutely. What? I'll be so serious when I say that type of stuff. And I'm attracted to your art. I'm attracted to the things that you put out into the world, into the atmosphere, into the universe. And for me to be let me just put this in plain terms, to be a fan of yours. No, to for me to be a fan of yours, that is it is to say that I you have inspired me on a level to do better, to want more for myself, to understand that if I'm not putting the work in to be a better artist, then what I'm really doing. And it's so
Mm,
crazy that that this is this because there is a guy that I went to college with. His name is True McCoy, and he sent me one of his poems today. And I'm not gonna give it out because he got to use it for a competition. And
Hmm.
so, but the poem, and this is vaguely, it speaks to putting the work in to being a poet. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, and if you don't do that, then essentially what you really doing is you really doing the work, and you're doing the work. So for it to feel like imposter syndrome, I would want to change that and say no, you're just in denial. You
I
understand
like
what?
I really like your attitude. I really do. Um and I think what it's all about is what did my dad say? It's always hard to see what others see in us, to be able to believe in ourselves the way others believe in us, to be able to trust in our own abilities and talents and let go of the fear of failure. Absolutely. Um
Yeah.
man, I mean I see I see the fear of failure isn't isn't I don't think that's part of the imposter syndrome, because the feeling of fear, uh, the fear of failure that I get um is from at any sec. Like, I feel like if I stop the train at any second, like, I can't get it moving again, you know. Like, if I have 1 week off from the show, or if I have 1 week where I don't have something new to spit for you guys, um I feel that's where the failure part comes in. We are works in progress. You have to come a long way and be super proud of who you are and how far you've come. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Dad.
Okay, daddy out here. What? You're my daddy now. I don't know. But listen, and you know what? I'm happy you stated that you have a fear of being stuck, which because there was a poem of yours that I listened to, and it's called To Be Better.
Hmm.
And when
That's
I
the one I
was
just
listening,
referenced.
yes, yes. And this one was there was verses in there, and this is vaguely speaking because I could be wrong. It was talking about being stuck in place, unwilling to ask for help, being emotionally unopen. And the question I wrote down was, how long did you battle yourself before writing became an outlet for the voices?
Well, to answer that, I would say the battle's not anywhere close to finished. I still battle, and that's what gives me the writing is the battle. The writing is it's like it's like Da Vinci's it was it Da Vinci, the Sistine Chapel, was that Da
Mm-hmm.
Vinci? It's like Da
No,
Vinci's
Michael,
chapel.
Michael, is it
Michelangelo, well,
Michelangelo?
I fucking don't know now. I think
I
it was
think
Da
it was
Vinci, but
I think it was
correct us in the comments.
Michelangelo. Who was the sculptor? I think it was Michelangelo.
Anyway,
Whoever the sculptor was.
I'm talking about the Sistine Chapel, and essentially what my work is see there are scenes up there of the great battle between heaven and hell.
Hmm.
And that is essentially what you're seeing in my pieces. Is that it's scenes from that battle being fought. It's like I can't my head is like a book, and I can't translate it all into a 2-hour movie, so I give you scenes from it. And
Hmm.
that's what my writing is. It's scenes from that battle that I'm fighting.
Hmm. Okay, I like that. And also, why I got a little excited when you said that line is because I wrote it down. To be better than the person who picked up the pen. I, I wrote that. I wrote that down. I wanted to tell you that. No, I'm just-
Hey, you know what? Free use, not copyrighted. Take it.
uh,
It's all yours. If you want to put it in something, go ahead.
I'll listen because you know I will. But I know I really it's a lot of things that I read, and it's things that inspire me. Not to necessarily take it word for word, but to use it and make it something different. To, like as I sit down to write, I load I load my wrist. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Something. If I sit down and I think about it, because I'm a writer, not a freestyler. I want people to know that. No, but
Me too. That is. I want that to be very clear. Me too. Occasionally, will I freestyle, and it is usually I come up with something and I hit the record button and I send it to one of my friends, and that's my freestyle. If you put me on the spot and ask me to freestyle, that's different.
you probably gonna get bullshit. You gonna be like, I can't believe this the writer that be putting out all that shit. No, I'm gonna be over there like the first person in the 1920s to start rapping. We not gonna wait. No, it's trash. But speaking, like just talking, I do really, really well. Like, but when you ask me to make it rhyme or do some other stuff, you're asking for too much. I am not a freestyle artist. I need to write it down. I'm a writer first.
Oh yeah,
I am a writer before I am anything else, baby. Like,
absolutely. And I actually, interesting you say that because, so I don't know, you might have heard this on my show, but, when I started, first thing I ever wrote was a self-help book. And it was in
mm,
fourth grade when I was like 10. And
yay.
this was right before, like, and I'm talking 6 to 8 months before the drug use. When this was like right before like, in my mind, like lost my innocence or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
like just like completely, or lost my mind, one of the two. Um, but like 10 years old, I started having anger issues around like 9 or 10 years old, and depression and whatnot. And me and my guidance counselor wrote this self-help book. And for the next like year, off and on, I worked on it. Um, and I actually put out a copy of it, like a half finished copy of it, with most of the chapters, and I like laminated it, and I put like 10 or 20 copies all over the school. And this little girl came up to me, it was like a year younger than me, and she like hugged me and told me like it changed her life, and I was just like blown away. And that's when I decided that writing was it for me. And then
Yes.
I actually wrote fantasy stories for a while. And that's not to say I won't ever get back into that. But it didn't actually start at poetry or rap at all. I listened to rap my whole life. Listen
Mm-hmm.
and watch. I watch like stand up poets. Um, the spoken word poetry, or they call it like slam poetry. I've
Mm-hmm.
been a big fan of that kind of stuff, and so I've always been like a student of the word, but
Mm-hmm.
um it wasn't actually until like my teenage years that I started like writing rhymes and spoken word poetry and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I actually, so when I went to like I don't know if you know what placement is, but it's on the highest level, it is youth detention center, juvenile detention center, juvie.
Okay.
On the lowest level, it's more like a foster home with 12 to 14 kids. Sometimes locks on the doors, sometimes not. Depends on the place you're in. And that's where I started writing poetry and rhyme. Um, and I think it was because it gave me like in a place where everybody was not only physically bigger than me, but had such a bigger like presence when they walked in the room, like just louder and more fucking. And don't get me wrong, I'm loud and I talk when I'm comfortable, but
Mm-hmm.
just you put a bunch of teenage boys in a house, and you put one teenage boy who has mental health issues and is kind of an introvert and doesn't really have a lot of friends, not going to go so well. And so I kind of channeled that into um rap, which gave me like I started to feel like motivation. I started to feel like you were saying, I'm a fucking giant and I'm a step like one. That's where I really like um and and that's not to say I've ever been timid. I've always been fuck you, say something, motherfucker. Um
Right.
but it wasn't until I found like rap that I was like, oh, I could take this fuck you, say something, motherfucker energy and like do something besides like hit things with it. I can, you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, no, for real. You learn how to channel your energy into writing.
Hmm.
Basically, absolutely. No, I love that. And then I want to talk about another piece that I listened to of yours, and it's called "The Man Behind the Mask." And
Ooh,
I believe that the man behind the mask, when it first comes on for me, it felt like you had been betrayed. So like, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, is this a story of betrayal? And as it goes on, it starts to tell the story of you and a friend, and you didn't know that he was hiding this immense pain of some sort, and he eventually ended up committing suicide. And
yeah,
you state that you missed all of the signals. You tell this eloquent story of it, and the imagery, I mean, in anything that you write, the imagery is, oh my goodness. I mean, like, it's like you standing in the room. Like, if we was talking about, if you ever been to theater somewhere where they break the what's that called, the fourth
the
wall or whatever it's
fourth
called.
wall, like
Yes.
Deadpool. Yeah.
Yes, that's how your writing is. Like, you can literally break the fourth wall, because the imagery, what you do, it gives me the ability to imagine it so vividly. You say so many things. You just give life to a story. And I was wondering, I was like, is this imagination or reality?
Mm, I really that is one of my favorite questions you've asked me so far. Because the answer is both. And
Okay.
that piece is a part two to a first piece called The Girl Who Loaned Me a Pencil.
Ah.
And the girl who loaned me a pencil is completely fictitious.
Hmm.
There was no girl who and in that one I also illustrate how I failed to see the signs and that sort of thing. That's kind of what these pieces are about. Um, Now, that one is completely fictitious. There was no girl who shot up the school and then killed herself. I made that
Right.
up. That was a fictitious story, but it was to prove a very real point. And it was based on friends, and some of them were female, that were struggling with mental health issues at the time, that I did see.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a what if scenario. What if I didn't see that my friends were struggling? What if one of my friends that are female did do this? The second piece is building off of that story. It is from the perspective of the same main character. Where we left off the story, he was sitting in his room and he was watching the news report of the school shooting, and he was wondering if he had gone to if he should have gone to school that day, and wondering if he could have done anything different. That's where we left him off. And when we pick up the man behind the mask, it's we pick up with him walking in on his friend's corpse that is cold and blue and glassy eyed. Um, and Has, in my mind, now you can interpret it however you want because I don't think I explicitly say it, but in my mind, he overdosed.
Hmm.
And that's just how I interpreted it, but I left it open for interpretation for that very reason. Um, but that's in my mind, he overdosed because of my best friend. And so the rest of the poem goes on to um, tell the story of him wondering, if he could have done anything for his friend,
Hmm.
and how he kind of made the same mistake twice, once with this girl that he barely knew, and then again with his best friend. The second piece was much less fictitious than the first. The second piece was almost word for word, entirely nonfiction. The only fictitious part about that is that I am not the one who found my friend. I made that part up just to make it, continue the story of the girl who loaned me a pencil. Um, I am grateful that I'm not the one who found him, and I
Hmm.
never saw his body. But if I do say so myself, I have, like, my mother, I did see her. So I did think I did a good job at, like, describing what it would have been like if I had been there and
Hmm.
been the one who found him. But yeah, it was almost word for word nonfiction. Just me imagining what it would have been like if I walked in, and the feelings that even though I didn't walk in and find him, the feelings that I still feel, that survivor's guilt, and that, what could I have done differently, that, he was hiding all this pain and this drug use and whatever the hell it was. Um, and, and I use vague terms because, I want it to tell a story, and it's also a part two, right? It's a sequel to something that's a
Hmm.
fictitious story, but this one was definitely way more real to me. And yeah, every word was 100% the truth in it. So,
Okay, I like that. And I want to know, why do you think we miss people's true identity or hurt and pain?
well, partly because of that mask that the man behind the mask describes. Partly because on the day-to-day basis, every single one of us is, before we leave the house, putting on a mask. And that is both physical and mental. With guys, right, it's it's more subtle. Sometimes it's our facial hair, sometimes it's just a certain, like, my dad don't go nowhere without his leather jacket. He would feel naked without it.
Mm.
Girls, most of the time it's their makeup. That's the physical aspect of it, but and then the mental aspect of it is, I think we all put on a fake face, and put on some kind of facade on a day to day, every single day. Um, and there are more people that are more vulnerable than others. But I think that we miss it because either they're keeping it from us, or we don't look for it. That's the thing about human nature, is we are inherently selfish beings. And that's how we have survived. That's how we survived through the fucking ice ages and shit, is being selfish and looking out for number one. But that is, in modern day society, it's a fault, to an extent, because we don't know to look for it, and we're too focused inward. So, well, like you said, me being introspective of myself, and that can be a good trait to have. It can border on narcissism, if and that can be a slippery slope leading to narcissism and not, you know, looking out for one another.
Okay. And then before we go, I know I would like to ask, I don't know if this was the reason, is the Lost Boys. Is it because you were always feeling lost that you created that, or did you want to go ahead and explain it to us?
Yeah, so that was when I was in placement, kitty lockup, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Um so one of my favorite stories of all time is Peter Pan. It was one of my favorite movies as a kid. The original animated. Oh, but although Robin Williams, amazing performance as well. But those two, when I was a kid, fucking and but the Lost Boys, it always like struck a chord in my soul. And when I went to placement, that's kind of what I felt like. Because a lot of kids are there because, not just because they fucked up, but because their parents fucked up, or they don't want them to go home, or, for various different reasons. And I was like, oh shit, this is like the real life version of the Lost Boys. Like, we're all kind of like stuck on this island because we can't, it's 2 miles up north. There's nothing but fucking woods. You ain't going nowhere. You might as well be on an island,
Mm-hmm.
So we're all kind of stuck on this island here for all of our own reasons. We all kind of have issues because if you watch Peter Pan, they're fucking hitting each other with clubs and shit, right? We all kind of
Yeah.
have issues and anger issues and sorts of shit, and mommy and daddy issues and whatnot. And yeah, we just feel lost, but we're here and we're lost together. And I was like, if I could have gotten the fucking placement boys to like actually think about that, but you're never gonna get teenage boys to fucking like slow down and think about that more than like two or three of them. Um, but I was like, if I could bring a group of people together that understood that concept of being lost together and how powerful it can be to be lost together.
Mm-hmm.
I saw this, but one more thing before we go to demonstrate my point. I saw a
Mm-hmm.
video once, and this old woman, she handed this girl a stick, and she said, "Okay, break this." She broke the stick, and she said, "Okay, now take those two halves and break them." And she took those two halves and she broke them. She said, "Take those four halves, break those." She couldn't do it. And the lesson is we are stronger in numbers. It's as simple as that. Um, no matter how brittle of a stick you are, you put a bunch of brittle sticks together, you can't break them.
Absolutely. Like a school of fish, they can scare off a bigger predator. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. Absolutely. Did you have any last words for the audience? Anything that you'd like to say to people who might be aspiring to be a writer, spoken word, any of your ventures?
Man, as corny as it sounds, be yourself because that is the best possible thing you can fucking be. And the second thing, and I will actually not take 100% credit for this quote. This is a quote by one of my favorite artists and human beings of all time, Jelly Roll. His real name's Jason, and I went to his concert, and he said this quote, and I will never forget it. Um, he actually, I think you can go look it up. He said it at his award speech for the VMAs as well. He said, "The rearview mirror is always going to be smaller than the windshield for a reason because what's in front of us is so much more important than what's behind us. So keep fucking looking forward and yeah, only only look back to check your blind spots and make sure you're moving good, just you can use what you have experienced and been through as fuel, but don't let it weigh on you to the point where you can't carry the weight and still move forward."
Absolutely. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Dad.
much, Dad. All right. You got how many brothers and sisters you got?
What's that?
How many brothers and sisters you got?
I have one brother and one sister. My sister, actually, come here. Come say hi. Come say hi. This is my little sister,
Okay,
Justice or
sister.
Tessa.
And
Hi.
she's gorgeous. Hey, girl. Okay. All right.
Um,
Okay. All right.
and then my
Yeah.
older brother is Brendan. And if you go back and watch some of my shows, he goes by Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
On those, we call him Brendan too, but he goes by Shadow, his poetic name. He's a fucking phenomenal writer as well. He won't admit to being as good as me, but he is like as good as me, if not better. He's fucking phenomenal. And she paints and draws and shit. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, shout out to the brothers and sisters.
Hey, yeah. It is Brennan the no, that's Brandon, is it not? Who helps you
Brett,
with your podcast?
no, actually, yeah. So I have a friend named Brandon who helps me run the show, and then I have a brother
Okay.
named Brendan with an E. So Brandon is an A and an O, and then Brendan is an E and an A.
Who you
Brendan.
lost in the woods with?
Oh, that's Brandon. That's Brandon. Although I have gotten lost in the woods many times with Brendan. That's one of our actually, in fact, when me and Brendan hang out, my brother, that's one of our favorite things to do is go get lost in the woods. So
I know
I
that's
would say
right.
I would say both actually. You can probably look forward to episodes of me being lost in the woods with both of those people on my YouTube
Absolutely.
channel. And yeah,
Awesome.
my YouTube channel, Lost Boys. Go check it out every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We stream on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. Yeah, Twitch. And yeah, thank you for having me. It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Oh man, it's been an honor having you. Actually, I would like to tell you that. Thank you for making this show possible tonight. Here's what I want to leave you with, and this is a quote by Merriam-Webster. I do believe she ran for president. She didn't get very far, obviously, but the quote is: "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God, and your playing small does not serve the world. I would give you the rest of it, but I don't remember it.
Ooh,
So I wanted to leave you with that because you're bigger than you see yourself in the mirror. And the problem is that your mirror is not big enough. So you're not capable of seeing all of you. You need a bigger mirror, Dylan.
ooh, I like that. I like that almost as much as the fucking windshield quote. That is fantastic. Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
so much for having me. It has really been an honor, and like you have made me feel like a celebrity, and just so much more special than I have any right to feel. So thank you so much.
What? You have every right to feel everything you're feeling
Well,
right now.
thank
You
you.
definitely listen. Here's the thing. If you are walking towards a path of the only thing you stated something that the only thing that you can be is great. Do not put your greatness in a box. You understand what I'm saying?
Thank you. I
Because if
try
you
to work
infinite,
on
you infinite.
I try to work on progress and not perfection. That's what I'm aiming
That's
towards.
it.
Progress and not perfection.
But greatness is not perfection. Greatness is greatness, honey. Muhammad Ali wasn't perfect, but he was great. You
Mm,
understand what I'm saying? And
yeah,
they
you know
say that
what?
R. Kelly is the king of R&B. That nigga ain't he not perfect, but his art was great. You understand
Let's
what I'm
separate the art
saying?
from the artist. Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. As the biggest Harry Potter fan, like, and the shit she said, man, I have had to learn that so well and just focus on the art and just focus on the greatness of that. And yeah, so I really appreciate you saying that because yeah, you're right. I'm not the best person, and I have so many flaws I can't even count them. But yeah, that's every week I sit down in my chair and I try to do my show and I try to um make the world a little bit of a better place if
Mhm.
I can. So thank
You
you.
do.
Thank you for
You were
giving me the
able
chance to
to.
do it here too.
Yes, because you were able to cultivate an entire community. You understand what I'm saying? That is no small feat. You are no small man. Stop acting like it. Thank you. Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much for tuning into the immersive experience tonight, Dylan. Thank you for being such a great person and opening up and being vulnerable and being all of the things that people need. You are necessary. I hope you continue to flourish, to grow. I hope that everything that you touch just turns into gold, Midas. You understand what I'm saying?
Thank you.
So I appreciate you all for tuning in tonight. Thank you so much, Dad. I appreciate the support. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Shout out to sister. Shout out to
Shout
brother.
out to shout out to all
And
the Lawlers. Shout out to just do a whole Lawler shout out. Whole Lawler shout out. All the Lawlers. All the Lawlers. Hell
absolutely.
yeah.
Shout out to the LostBoys Cypher Circle. If you have not caught an episode, you make sure you catch one. They have some amazing artists, as you can tell. Of course, they better have some amazing artists if they gotta come up and he gonna spit something on his show too. Oh no. Like they would if it was me and I was not up to par, I would be embarrassed, honey. Embarrassed. Let me go ahead and end this. We ending this, and yes, Dad, always. I love that. I love the support from family. That is beautiful. I love to see that you have that. You understand? Because we all need strong we's. Because what you just said, we stronger together. Definitely
Mm-hmm.
understood. Thank you so much for tuning into the Immersive Experience, a podcast about you, for you, from you. And I will catch you Sunday at 8 p.m. Have a good one.
Thanks.